Many fans and pundits believe that Red Bull will be virtually unstoppable this 2023 season, as their former rivals have failed to keep up with Red Bull's rate of development. But to the Milton Keynes-based squad, their run of dominance may come to an abrupt end very soon. And as to why, you may ask? Well, you've clicked on the right video to find out. All that and more. So let's get right into it. As we can all remember, Red Bull was in the hot seat towards the end of the 2022 season after allegations surfaced that they had breached the cost cap in 2021. These allegations were later confirmed, which resulted in them receiving a 10% deduction in aero development time this season, plus a hefty fine of $7 million. While many believe that the penalty has not impacted Red Bull whatsoever, motorsport advisor Helmut Marko believes the opposite. As he would say to Formula1.de, "We prepared ourselves optimally for the season," he said. "Once we knew that this penalty would be imposed, it was clear that, when we went into the wind tunnel, it had to be done in an efficient manner and each run with a clear plan. At the moment, we've managed to do all that. But, of course, as the season progresses and we run out of wind tunnel time, the others will still have that available, and our lead will then melt away. That's why it's extremely important that we take the points with us now." Red Bull won by a landslide in Bahrain, which led Mercedes driver George Russell to say after the race that he believes that Red Bull will be virtually unbeatable this season. Marko would comment on this and say, "No. So this statement by Russell can perhaps be explained by the current frustration of the Bahrain race. It was a race on a specific circuit where the surface is extremely rough, which means that tire wear plays a very big role. Yes, we put in a good performance. But so much for winning all the races and having the World Championship title in the bag. If it were that easy, it would be nice." To prove that the team are mortals as well, Marko would divulge that the team was left puzzled about why they could not find a good balance for their RB19 during the practice sessions in Bahrain. "No, that story is not true like that," he said. "We had a super balanced car during the test in Bahrain, and on the Friday we suddenly had relatively strong understeer. That's something Max doesn't like at all, but other teams had that too. It must have been another factor, maybe sand, temperature, whatever. And then we painstakingly, I have to say, found our way back to a setup that allowed Max to drive to pole position and then also to take the win." In keeping with trying to build a healthy lead before they feel the effects of their penalty, Auto, Motor und Sport has reported that the team intends to bring substantial upgrades to their RB19 in Australia and in Azerbaijan. This will only make things worse for Mercedes and Ferrari, who are still trying to figure out how Red Bull managed to create such a great car. Red Bull looked strong throughout the entire circuit during the first race, and they also performed exceptionally well on the straightaways. However, what really impressed everyone was how well their tires held up. In Bahrain, Red Bull was the only team that could complete the race with 2 sets of soft tires and 1 set of hard tires, while every other team needed 2 sets of hard tires to make it to the end. While Red Bull's dominance may be disheartening to its competitors, the good side of this is that they have shown the rest of the F1 grid how to properly take on the new regulations. Fernando Alonso's third-place finish with Aston Martin in Bahrain, using a design similar to Red Bull's 2022 car, led to a remark from the team's advisor, Helmut Marko, that it was great to see 3 Red Bulls on the podium. Verstappen, on the other hand, would say, "It's not really a surprise. If you look at most of the cars, they all copied each other. So everyone is getting smarter over the years anyway, with the same regulations. And if you see that one car, particularly, is doing quite well over a year, you'll try to copy some things, and that's why, naturally, everyone is getting closer and, in general, understanding the car a bit better." Many analysts believe that the introduction of the new regulations and the new budget cap has led to much closer racing than ever before. But when Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso was asked, he said this, I don't think so, no. I think you need to have the vision and the ambition of Lawrence Stroll, or our leadership and our management, because the opportunities are there for everybody, but it seems that only one team is willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I'm proud to be part of this organization. Verstappen would agree with Alonso and say, it doesn't matter if it was the previous generation of rules or this one. If you have the right people in charge and they really want to win, and they hire the right people, anything is possible. And it seems as though it isn't only the fans who are appreciating these more action-packed races. As Ferrari's Charles Leclerc would say, it seems that we are all closer, which I think is great. It's more exciting in qualifying sessions like Q1 and Q2, which, for the top teams, whenever we had that big margin, we could do a little bit of whatever we want. Now it seems to be a bit more on the limit, so it's nice. And it seems as though the FIA aren't stopping there in their efforts to provide a good show for the fans of the sport. The FIA are set to introduce a new qualifying format they want to test out at Imola. The new format will have each qualifying run use a different tire, with Q1 running hards, Q2 mediums, and finally, Q3 will run on softs. This seems strange, as grip levels will start very low at the beginning of qualifying, and while this may improve the spectacle for viewers, it doesn't quite make sense from a sporting point of view. Both Verstappen and his teammate Sergio Perez would say that the format does not make sense, as Verstappen would say, I hope it's not going to be cold in Imola, otherwise it's going to be tricky, he joked with Planet F1. I don't think we need to actually do these kinds of things in qualifying. I don't really see the benefit of it. It's better if we make sure that all the cars are close to each other and more competitive, instead of spicing things up in that way, which I think is, probably for the show. While Checo would say, I think it's for the show, the Red Bull driver said. I think we don't need that. When you see the qualifying we had in Bahrain, how close everything was, you don't really need to change anything. We'll see once we try it, but I don't think there is a need to change something that is working well. Speaking of Checo, the Mexican driver has been put in the hot seat by team boss Christian Horner, who would like to see him rise up to the standard of his teammate Max Verstappen. As Perez gets another chance to prove himself in 2023, Horner was asked what he needs to do differently to be able to compete with Verstappen every weekend. Initially, with a smile, the Red Bull team boss responded. He needs to improve his lap time. Look, Max is a hell of a competitor, and he's a tough, probably the highest benchmark in F1. But Checo is now in his third year in the team. He's confident, he's comfortable, and he's got to be on his A game, not just with Max. Ferrari's drivers are pushing each other hard. Mercedes drivers are pushing each other hard. We've got what looks like a pretty motivated veteran, Fernando Alonso, in a green car as well, so it's going to be a really exciting year. So, what do you make of all this? Is Red Bull more vulnerable than most people think? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.